Are you afraid that private equity will ruin your trades business? Think again. We'll reveal how top pros like Dustin Van Orman and Ishmael Valdez turned private equity into a powerhouse, scaling to 500 million and beyond. Learn how to spot real opportunities and avoid the scammers in the best practice and coaching groups. Don't miss this insider's guide to winning with private equity in the trades. All right, welcome to another episode of Next Level Pros. Super excited. We have incredible guests in the studio today. It's a unique experience. All four of us have been involved in private equity or one way or the other in the trades. And so super excited. Got Mr. Ishmael Valdez and we got Dustin Van Orman here on the show. Welcome to the show, boys.
Thank you.
Excited to have you.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for traveling up. It's been a good time. So let's get a quick, brief synopsis. If you can give me like just a 60-second version of your story. I know you came from different backgrounds in the trades. If you can go into that.
My name is Ismael Valdez. I've been in the trades for about 15 years. A successful exit on a plumbing and air conditioning company about 4 years ago. Grew probably the fastest air conditioning and plumbing business in the nation. It took us 6 years and 4 months to exit that business.
So what are we talking from zero to what were you doing in revenue?
We did $0 to $108 million in revenue in 6 years and 4 months. All plumbing. We started with HVAC, bolted on the plumbing side on it. And we're about to get electrical.
You know, that's probably the closest to competing with us, Daryl. Is that right? Yeah. I mean, 0 to 233 in 4.5 years. So I just got to give you some crap. No, that's sweet, man. In the HVAC, and you said you were in plumbing as well?
Yes, sir.
Nice. That's awesome. So all three of the main trades going on with that.
Question for you real quick. When you're growing your business, did you build that to sell or point did you see that as an exit?
I think in 2020, 2021, the noise started. Right. And when I say the noise started, we started hearing, hey, I think Center Oak was one of the first private equities that came into our industry. And they bought a company out like in North California. And, you know, they were talking about some ridiculous multiples. And then Champions went right after that. Service Champions right by, which is 15 minutes away from me. They were a 27-year-old business, you know, was doing about $100 million at the time. And then we started hearing more and more. And then I started getting approached, I'm sure just like you guys, through emails and calls and people showing up to my shop just saying, hey, man, you know, you got something valuable here. I thought they were kidding around. I was like, you guys know we're plumbers, right? Like, you guys don't we do plumbing, air conditioning, and we're getting into electrical. Do you guys know that? They're like, yeah. We just, you know, we're really interested.
Yeah, we actually had a little bit different of an experience. Like when we launched, we fully intended to sell. Yeah, and we had a career going up into that point that was like, you know, the hard knocks. I mean, was this your first business that you launched?
Second business. So Home Comfort was my first business. We did about 21 mil in 4 years, and then I did Next-Gen after that. Right.
Okay, awesome. Ours was a little bit different. We ended up running a process with like to get private equity knocking on the doors. We were in a little bit, obviously, different line of the trades with fully solar and electric. But yeah, a little bit different. Now you, on the other hand, come from a little bit different background. You're more focused on the private equity side.
Yeah.
So you can give us a little background there?
What little background on myself first, Dustin Van Orman. I live in Utah. If I look at my history, I say I'm a HVAC technician from way back. Awesome. I mean, I learned from the time I was 10 years old, and I've always loved being in the repair business. Got into heating and air conditioning back in 2000. I think the trades are amazing. I think there's so much potential. And then it wasn't that many years ago, we were approached by the private equity industry. I mean, they saw in the potential. I mean, the recession hits and we're strong. People still have to fix their stuff. And so they saw the value in our industry. And at first we were approached and we were cautious. We, in fact, had all of our barriers up because you're selling out, right? This is going to hurt our people, right? And we were nervous. We weren't interested in doing anything with any of them. Ultimately, we started our own group, the NER group, so we could create what we felt we couldn't find with the others. We just didn't resonate with the others.
Right.
And it just wasn't the right direction for us. So we formed the NER group back in 2021. One step further, I started with NER in 2011. I was one of the first HVAC technicians there, jumped in a truck, worked hard. At that time, there was about a dozen of us. Total revenue, we were about to...
What year was that you started as a tech with them?
With NER, 2011. July 1st, 2011. We were about $2.5 million in revenue total. Just a small shop figuring things out. And I'll tell you, the key to success and the growth, because we've seen tremendous growth and success, is the people you surround yourself with from the very beginning. If you need to be looking for leaders in every person you hire, because you're developing leaders, and the more you can find the right people, the more you can progress as a business. So I've seen the business go from $2.5 million to today, just the Utah location where I started, all organic growth, did a little over $110 million last year.
That's amazing.
And then as a group, because we set out to create what we couldn't find, which we wanted to create a real partnership where people could come benefit from resources, tools, experience, a team that's scaled a business from small to the top. So that's what we set out to create, and that's appealing to people. They don't want to sell out. They don't want to just give their business away. They want to create an environment that's strong and successful for all the people in the business. So we've been very successful. Right now, we have 30 locations in the United States, covering 10 states.
How much revenue are you guys doing now, D?
Right now, approximately 500 million.
Very good, man. So the both incredible backgrounds, both have been growing it. So it's interesting. It brings up the question, like, why is private equity involved in the trades right now? Because, historically they go in waves with different industries, different businesses. Why is it so appealing right now?
I think that, like Dee said, pandemic proof, we're, recession proof. I think they see the value behind us and that we're probably an irreplaceable trade. I don't care if you're, start making machines that can do it and start making bots that can do it. Nobody's ever going to do it like a human being can actually do it inside the trades. And I think they see the value behind it. They finally see us as a platform that can be invested in, not just have the SaaS model and not just have the rest of the other industries. I think they see the value behind it.
Well, you mentioned pandemic proof. I mean, you look at what happened. Private equity was interested in our trades before the pandemic hit. But then what happened when they saw how it affected us? I mean, we were an essential service. We didn't shut down. In fact, all of us grew like crazy if we had our stuff together, right? They saw how well we handled that crisis in the entire world. It was a worldwide crisis, and the trades came through like just fantastic.
I think another thing that's going on is the amount of money that's pumping into private equity is massive.
Margins are strong.
Was it the Milken Institute that Bryce went to? So yeah, it was a conference that my brother went to, and they were showing him how like the money that's going into the market, the stock market versus private equity is outpacing the stock market.
Well, it's just become so expensive to be a publicly traded company these days, and the amount of return that you can get in private equity versus publicly traded companies is just drastically different. And, you mentioned and alluded to it, but like we are in the AI era, and when you're analyzing businesses of what is AI going to replace, really the trades is going to be one of the very last, any type of industry that's going to be replaced by artificial intelligence and robotics, right? Like for a robot to show up to somebody's home, to analyze the situation and customize an approach, like that just seems so far-fetched versus like, just an arm that's replacing and doing a task over and over again in a manufacturing facility. And so, you look at these software companies that have traditionally taken a lot of money from private equity and whatnot. Software is being written in 3 days through artificial intelligence. You just got the ability to replicate most businesses is just crazy. And so I think that's where blue collar work really shines through.
I can't wait AI really gets developed into the trades, because I think, just like you said, you're going to have the first software company that's going to be $500 billion written by a couple dudes in a garage. You're also going to have the 30, 35, 40, 50% net profit rations getting built out right now, because, whether people want to see it or not, or whether people want to believe it or not, AI is going to wipe 90% of your in-house support. I believe that the next batch of operations that's about to blow up is going to be driven by maybe 4 to 5 drivers in the in-house support, driving hundreds of millions of dollars. Instead, at Next-Gen, we had 160 people in-house between CSRs, dispatching, production, the whole infrastructure to be able to hold that. AI is going to benefit the trades and take us to the next step to giving us the bigger multiples and valuing us at a higher rate. So I can't wait for those to happen.
I have a question for you. So you built in California. So you obviously had like some of the toughest regulatory, still do. Washington, we had some big challenges working with the governments here, but I'm just curious on California.
California is unique, man. California is just like, it's a different side of the operation. It's a little bit more complex operation than most people are used to. It's no different from any hour. It's no different from those people. They're all driven by human beings, apply different laws to our structure. But, was it difficult? 100% it was difficult. Do I love dealing with all the bullshit behind California? 100% I don't. But I promise you, 50 million people in California, you can't beat it.
Do you feel like that keeps people out of the market because of the barrier of entry?
It brings out the best in people too. So it does keep a lot of people out of the market. And there's a ton of private equities that won't touch California. That's why I got a big payout. The way I got a big payout, because we were able to do it in such short amount of time and do it compliant, which is one of the toughest things to do. Growing a business in California is like playing golf with the wind hitting you.
It's interesting. These barriers of entry, I think, create tons of value, ton of opportunity, because most guys aren't willing to go through any type of barrier of entry. For anybody that's ever looked in the solar industry, typically it's going to be around where the sunniest places with the highest electric rates. I mean, we're talking about Seattle, which is not the sunniest, and the lowest cost energy in the United States. And that's where we chose to establish our business, where literally everybody else was low-hanging fruit and working up. We took the highest hanging fruit and worked down. And because of it, we established ourselves in a way that was just completely different, having these different regulations. Washington State's just as crazy as California when it comes to regulation, right? Like electrical regulation, you can only have 2 apprentices per journeyman.
Look, it's hard enough to scale a business. Each one has to have a license. The easy part about California is under my plumbing license, under my electric, under my HVAC license, I could carry all the people with me, right? So recruiting and building them it's
way better than here.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we have literally the craziest electrical licensing standard in the U.S., but because of it, it kept everyone else out, right? And if we could be compliant, learn how to be compliant, right? Learn how to play within the rules of the game, that ultimately allowed us to dominate, right? Like, that's really the key to this whole thing is like, what are the rules? Exactly. Can I create any additional rules, and like, how do I operate within that?
I think kids too, if they're going into trades, like states like Washington are great because it is really hard to find those type of people and they get paid well.
Yeah.
We should talk about it because one, I don't want to make personal podcast order, but look at the biggest problem we have in the industry. We are running operations, whether you're NEO or Next Gen, Next Level, everybody across the industry. We are running and building these infrastructures and operation with a limited amount of people. Okay, like. You go to California, it's a shit show. My technicians go to this company and then they bounce to this company and then they come back to this company and then they come back to us, and we're just sharing labor, but we're not fixing the problem. The problem we need to fix in the industry is to actually get an influx of recruitment, and it starts at our high school level. And, that's one of the personal goals that I have in my journey is to be able to impact that section of it, because if we can actively impact the educational system, we're not just pushing them to college, we give them an option to come to the trades and actually make fucking real good money. If we can do that, that's what's going to solve the biggest problem we have in the industry, which is labor.
We got a big shift in our educational system that has to take place. I mean, you think about it. AI is banned in schools right now. Like, you can't even use ChatGPT to write a paper or do anything because it's cheating. Like, that's where we're at, where we need to completely shift and like understand what AI is going to impact, get people more into the trades, understand that like blue collar work is respectable. You can make a good living, all these different things. And so, it's a big shift that we have to make. I agree with you. Like, we got to be.
D, I got a question for you, because your story is super unique and your story is, one of a kind. To be able to come from a churning wrenches to running one of the biggest private equity shows in the nation. What do you think we have to do as influencers, as being the voice of the industry? What do you think we should all focus on to being able to solve the biggest problem, which is the labor shortage?
Good question. We need to open our doors. We need to show people the trades are fun. Do people realize this is fun, or do they think they need to go to college? That's the reality is society has trained people to believe that college is where you need to go and you need to get that education. But the reality is not all of us want to go to school and sit in a classroom and learn what they want us to learn. We want to get out and experience life. We want to go experience a career of our choice. And in the trades, you can have a choice of what you do with your life direction. They don't understand even what's available yet. And so helping them see that in our business, I'm going to take our drains program, where I think most companies, and ours used to be this way, where you come into a drains team, they're putting a snake down a sewer line and cleaning it out so water can flow again. It used to be really dirty. People used to come in and out of those departments. We've created an environment. If you have the right culture, if you have the right training, if you have the right opportunity, if you show people how to turn those leads into a really successful career, even though there might be a dirty aspect to it, it's respectable, it's honorable, it's got direction. Yep. And we can educate people to understand that there's a real career, a real direction in any of the trades.
There's massive wealth to be done in the trades. And that's the one thing that I think we're missing, and we're not being loud enough. You know who the loudest people are right now? The AI and the tech companies. That's why everybody wants to work for them. Who wants to work for Facebook? Who wants to work for Google? Who wants to work for Amazon? Who wants to work for these new AI companies? Everybody wants to work for them. We got to get louder. Hey, you can make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 as a plumber, as an electrician, as an HVAC tech, as a solar rep. You can make that much money your first, second, third year here. That's the responsibility we have as the face of the industry, to be louder. The loudest one is who attracts the labor. What do you think?
My daughter had some friends over, and I asked all of them, what are you doing for college? And then I asked them, do you guys know about trades? And do you know how good it is? And just trying to like influence them, because I didn't know until I had a business that trades was such a good opportunity.
The reality is we're up against a big thing, right? I mean, the college system is a very lucrative industry or whatnot, but yeah, we can definitely speak up the way we do our recruiting, our training, those type of things. What are you guys doing right now over at Any Hour for recruiting and training people to get them up to speed?
We have people coming through our doors every single day. If you go talk to my recruiting team, they'll have thousands of applications per month coming in the door. You have to be actively looking for the right people, bringing them in, showing them what's available, creating an opportunity. And then you got to be open-minded. I mean, you bring people in the door. I think so many contractors out there are just looking for the most experience. You need to find people for who they are and help them develop that experience. If you're hiring for character, and if you're bringing people into the trades, giving them an education and helping them start that career path, that's why we have a shortage, is because we've created it. We've only gone for like you said, they're bouncing from shop to shop to shop. So these experienced guys are the first one they grab, right? If we bring in young people that are ambitious, that are interested in learning how to work with their hands and have a career in the trades, and then train them, they're grateful for that training. They're going to stay with us. We're going to have loyalty. We're going to have hardworking people. And like you said, in a matter of just a few years, we've helped them develop a career path where they can make an incredible income and provide for their families.
So I was just talking to Ara about this. I had lunch with him last week, and we were talking about this, the labor shortage. And, I'm telling him, hey, your biggest problem at Service Titan is not AI. Your biggest problem is not acquiring new clients. Your biggest problem from, a million miles off you is that you're going to get capped off with the amount of technicians you have in the industry, because, it's a paid per technician service. So we need to fix this as a whole, right? How do we talk to the 20, 25-year-olds that don't know what to do? How do we talk to the 18-year-olds that don't know what to do? That's the problem we need to solve.
Because, these kids, they're coming out of high school addicted to their phones, don't know how to use their hands, never have done any type of labor or sweated in their life, right? So you got to address this situation early. It's not at 18 or 19. It's actually 12, 13, 14, figuring out ways that we can insert ourselves in, shift in society and get where it's the people love working again. There's a labor shortage, but then there's also a lot of guys in the space that just have trouble scaling, right? All of us have scaled drastic amounts. What would you say are the key aspects in growing a business from 0 to 106 million in 6.5 years?
I think the biggest problem one of these contractors have, and, I've mentored, thousands of these guys, and I've had one-on-ones with them. And through my Nuve Thermostat, we're building a training platform, $2, $3, $4, $5 million contractors. And the one thing I've noticed is that they're not a sales-driven organization. The reason why you and I and any or every one of these contractors are successful is because we built a culture based on sales. We built a culture based on solving problems for the consumer. We built a culture on driving forward. Most of these technicians that, decided to be CEOs, or most of these installers that decided to be CEOs, or most of these office personnel that decided to be CEOs lack the fundamentals of a sales process. The sales process is one of the most unique and most pure form of growing the business.
Hey guys, it's Chris. If you're finding value in what you're hearing, go ahead and like and subscribe. That way people just like you can find this content for free here on YouTube. Now let's dive back in the show.
So Dustin, when you're a small shop, you're doing a couple million a year, just struggling, you don't have these sales processes, you don't have any really good operations in place. Where do you go? Where do you go for help for something like that?
I think that's a challenge that so many business owners are facing. If I go back and think about what my experience was like in the beginning, it was the Wild West. I would go to my first call in the morning. I'd present options for repair. If they didn't want to repair, I'd present options for replacement. If they wanted to replace it, I'd go buy my own equipment. I'd come back. I'd do my entire install myself. I'd call dispatch and say I was done, then I'd go do another one. Dispatch would line my calls up for the day, and at 5 o'clock, they'd say, here's your next 4 calls. Let me know how it goes tomorrow. We did whatever it took, and it was the Wild West, and that meant we had to get involved from the minute we woke up till the jobs were done. That was usually 10, 11 o'clock at night, because that's what it took.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm talking about the challenges these businesses are facing and they need to figure out how to overcome, people will come into our shop quite often. Anyone's invited, and they'll ask us, well, what's the silver bullet, that helped you scale your business? So many shops have a hard time scaling past that $2, $3, $4, $5 million range because they don't know how to build a team. And so they're wearing every single hat themselves, and they don't know how to take one off and hand it to somebody talented. But that's where they're lacking, is building the right people.
I believe that the $2 to $3 million guys they're stuck in is because they don't know what position they should be seated on. Sometimes you don't know that, hey, maybe you should be running the install department. Like, part of a high-level CEO is identifying yourself in the operation and running with it, right? And at the $2 million shop, most of these guys, yes, they're doing everything themselves. What I would tell every operator out there that is stuck between $1 and $2 million is hire a sales person. Sales is a gift. Being able to have an emotional connection with a consumer in a short amount of time and being able to persuade them to purchase something from your company is a skill, and a skill that most operators lack. And there's nothing wrong with it, but you got to know your skill. I knew my skill when I stepped in that door. I knew that I knew how to market and I knew how to recruit, and I stuck with that all the way to 108. You never saw me go inside that house. You never saw me trying to install it. You never saw me. I identified my skill, what would benefit the operation, and I ran with it. And then I started building piece by piece of like, okay, cool. What happens after the phone rings? Okay. First of all, we need somebody to answer the phone. Second of all, we need somebody to run those calls. So let's start building that process one by one, but finding your seat as a CEO and knowing that you got to build the team is how you're going to be able to scale your business.
It's interesting. I think a lot of times technician ran businesses, they look down upon sales. Right? They're like, oh, sales is dirty. Yep. I can't just have only sales guys. I got to have guys that understand the ins and the outs of exactly how this is done, to be in management, to be out talking with the customer, to be any of these things, right? And so you don't have, like, if you are a technician running a business, understand you don't need to be a technician running a business, right? Like, running a business is a completely different skill than going and servicing a customer.
Well, I think the irrelevant conversation, which you can see in like a sales department and a technician department, is like, which one's more important? They're both important. You see them all the time. Technicians are like, well, if we don't do our job, then the sales guys don't matter. And then sales guys are like, well, if we don't do our job, then technicians don't have any work. And if you go into your business as a technician, you can stick to that position where it's like, my work is my marketing or something like that. And you just limit yourself.
So I completely agree with what you're saying. You need to attract top talent that can sell in your business. Trouble is, at $2 million in revenue, how do you attract the top talent in sales? Because they want to have a career path. Yeah, I want to hear it.
The way you attract high-level sales guys is by being able to provide a higher pay scale and a simpler pay scale. I knew a good salesman when he walked in my door, as soon as he talked commission. As soon as he talked, well, can I get a salary? Can I get, or a low hourly, or can I do this? Or I'm like, if you don't walk in the door and tell me, what is the biggest commission I can get on this ticket? You're not a sales driver.
I'm going to conflict a little bit here. So I am a sales guy. I can appreciate a good commission structure. I think, frankly, the way that you take a $2 million shop to a $50 million shop to a $100 million shop, yes, you have to attract the right talent. It's all vision driven, right? Like, for me as a sales guy, yes, I got to be able to make a lot of money. But if I do not see a vision of growth, a vision of opportunity, like, in fact, if a guy does come in and the first thing he's talking about pay, I'm kicking him out. Like, I want somebody to be bought into the culture, the vision, the direction of the business, to see where they're going to fit into going and growing this thing. And then let's have a compensation structure. But I do agree, on a baseline level, just have no idea how to compensate. For a guy, he's got to change his vision. Most of these guys are just in survival vision mode. It's just like, I'm just trying to get to the next payroll, do the next thing. And like, if I can just stay here and make my 200 grand a year or 300 grand a year, then I'm going to be fine. Versus the guy that's at 2 million. And he's like, yo, in 5 years, we're getting to 100 million. And this is the plan. This is the roadmap to be able to get it. They're going to be able to attract the top talent. So like, one is like shifting the limiting beliefs that you have around your business, thinking bigger, being able to attract in the right talent. I mean, that's essentially what made what SoulGen was. Like, we're sitting in a garage recruiting guys, right? Like, third guy walking in, I'm like, yo, we're building this thing to 100 million in the next 5 years. This is the roadmap. This is how we're doing. They're like, what? I'm sitting in your freaking garage. I know you're sitting in the garage. This is how we're doing it. We're investing in the right things.
So Ishmael, you're talking about the compensation side of things. I'm glad this conversation is happening, but here's the thing. Without saying it, you're demonstrating your vision. You're a charismatic, energetic person that is proud to be able to offer people a great income, right? You're demonstrating your vision along with sharing with them their opportunity for compensation. I meet so many business owners that have been 2 million for the last 10 years they can't paint a vision. So they have to change something and able to create an environment where people want to be, because high performers, they're not going to go to that shop because they don't see the direction. So people need to see a path. They need to have a voice, and they need to be compensated well.
So on Instagram, I see all these posts about like buying retired businesses where people are retiring, and just talking about what you guys are talking about. Those businesses struggle because they don't have sales. So if you're a very sales driven person, it'd be a good opportunity for you to go find a business that wants to like retire. Business owner wants to retire. Go in there with a sales focus, not a technician focus, and build that business.
What's the opportunity right now in the HVAC world? The trades, the plumbing.
Dude, roofing's coming right behind us too, man. You know, there's a different levels of sophistication that the trades has been going through. Obviously, the solar people have been leading the pack for years and years and years, and the HVAC guys were following you guys right behind it, whether it was a CRM or whether it was a sales-driven trade. The solar industry has led us to where we're at right now.
Obviously, there's a lot of like best practice groups out there, right? Like I think one of the biggest shifts in my career was once I started getting in the room with the right people, learning the secrets of things that I wasn't doing and others were doing. There's been a lot of like best practice groups that have been well established in the trades for a long time. What should you be looking for being able to scale up, educate up, learn these things? Because like obviously there's podcasts that you can go to, there's YouTube, there's different things. Like where are you turning for the right direction these days?
The first thought that comes to mind, and before I answer your question, I want to point out something I've observed. Business owners will see a spark of talent in somebody in their business, a technician or somebody in the office, whatever. And so they see this spark of talent and they think, oh, well, this makes sense. Let's make this person a manager. So they put them in a management position, but then they never spend the time to develop that person. Come to you and say, hey, so-and-so just decided to give notice. We just made this person a service manager, for example, right? So just decided to give notice. They're leaving the business. And man, I'm so glad they're leaving because they're the hardest one to handle. What they don't realize is oftentimes those hard technicians to handle are your highest producers. I'm one of them. I'm probably not the easiest guy to manage in the world. You're probably not either, just being honest. And so your high performers are walking out the door because we haven't developed our leaders to know how to communicate properly and how to inspire and how to understand what that person's needs are. And so having coaching and training and opportunity available in programs like what you guys have created here with Next Level Pros team, businesses need to have direction. They need to understand what the next step in scaling is. They need to have a coach to help them stay accountable. They need to have leadership development. They need to have weekly one-on-ones. There's so many things that need to be happening. You can't just hire somebody with a spark of talent and expect them to figure it out, because they might be able to become a manager, but are they going to become a leader without you supporting them?
You know, it's interesting. You look at like anything that operates at a high level, whether it's a professional sports team, whether it's with Tony Robbins, whatever, right? And they all have certain things in common. And yet so many of us try to like cut corners and bypass that, right? Like Michael Jordan, he had his coach, his trainers, his developers, right? Like to be able to operate at a high level, you have to be in these groups. You have to be around the right minds. You got to have accountability and everything else. Yet so many of us, we just want to be like, oh, that's not for me. Like I had my coach in high school playing football, but I don't need him now. Like I'm a big boy. I'm smart. I can figure this out on my own. I've got access to all the same information they do.
The biggest culprits to this are the people who were like had a job, started a business, and now they're making a little bit more than they used to make. They're like, I got it figured out. Do not have it figured out. There's so much opportunity. You're just leaving on the table. What you just said as far as recruiting your top talent into management is one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of businesses make, because a lot of times they actually are decreasing their pay. They're not management material, and they're happier as a leader.
And it hurts the business too, because you're taking a revenue producing person and putting them in a managerial position. And most of us forget that we need that revenue. And especially at the pivotal moment where we're at $2, $3, $4, $5 million, you need those drivers where they're, producing the most for the company.
But like what you're saying, I think we should be training all of our people to be leaders, because then you see the ones that rise up.
I got a question for you guys. So coming into this industry, right? The plumbing, air conditioning, electrical industry, and coming in as a mentoring group, there's a lot of scammers out there, right? And I've called them out. I promise you, I called them out. Dustin, you've seen me. I'm not afraid to call people out, because the reason why I'm not afraid to call it out is because I am so protective of the trades. I'm so protective of the contractors. I'm so protective of them getting taken advantage of, because I'm one of them. And I've been in their shoes where it's like, man, how the hell am I going to hit payroll this month, man? They're looking for that silver bullet or the coach, how do you distinguish who's a good coach and who's a bad coach, or who's a good training platform and who's an outdated platform?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, one of the things that I've always looked at is like, has somebody ran the roadmap that I want to run? Whenever I can get in the room with somebody that has been in my shoes, done the work, gone through the same struggles, like that's somebody I want to learn from and does it for the right reasons. I think a lot of the scammers out there's guys that are figureheads in the space, but that aren't involved in their program whatsoever, right? Like they're a good marketing piece, but then you get in the door and you never hear from them. You never hear from them again. There's no substance to the program or anything like that. And so it's interesting. The program that we teach what we call the 8 pillars for growth. It's under our God mode structure. And essentially, these are pillars that we have built being in the shoes of the technicians, being in the shoes of the business owner. And we've done it through successes and failures and paying for coaching ourselves. Like I always say, like, one, be extremely afraid of a guy that wants to be your coach that doesn't pay to be coached, that isn't constantly learning, isn't constantly developing. Like one thing that I've dedicated in my career, I've spent over 1.3 million just on my personal education, being in the right room, going to a 3-year Harvard program for owners and presidents of companies. But more importantly, I've been there when it's tough to make payroll. I've been there when you're just scrapping together and getting your next sale to be able to figure out how to cash flow this. When you really understand that, right? Like that's the room you want to be in. And so we're coming into the trade space. Yeah, we have background in the trades, right? Solar is an electrical trade. What we bring to the trades is a more like astute and like targeted sales, development, leadership, structure, vision, where many guys in the trades just really struggle with.
What are the 3 questions that every contractor should be asking to whoever they're interviewing to be their coach? What would you be the top questions that they should be asking or looking for to bring out red flags or green flags?
It's really tough because sometimes when you're in that spot, you don't know what you're looking for, right? And so I think it's looking for track records or people that have worked with them. It's interesting, the people that we see like tons of change in their business and success, they're implementing some of the most simple things, some basic things. When you're in that shoe, when you're grinding all the time, like it's really hard to see these simple things that need to be adjusted. It's one of those things where you just got to do it. The worst case scenario is you pick the wrong person and then you pick the right person next, right? Making a decision, I think, is more important because I think a lot of people just don't make the decision because they're worried about getting burnt. But it's like the quicker you get burnt, the quicker you can make the right decision or find the right person and learn from it.
In the coaching space, sometimes, to Daryl's point, is like just by spending the money, you're committing to taking some action. Most guys just aren't taking any action. They're reacting, right? Like they're not being proactive in designing their business or whatnot. Just by giving that pledge or that vote of like, hey, I am going to start working on my business. That's step one. Obviously, you want those dollars to go to the best program, right? You want to be in the right room. You want to be with the right guys. And that just comes down to, who's got the best track record? Who's got the best testimonials? Like who actually knows what they're talking about? But like you could literally pay for something, get a tiny little piece of advice, and it could be drastic in changing your business.
If we're talking about these groups and how you can find a coach and surround yourself with people to help you be successful, the first step is to just make the decision to do something. I mean, how many of these people are trying to recreate the machine? It doesn't have to be recreated. There's plenty of us already doing it successfully. And I'll tell you what, we're happy to share. I mean, I have hundreds of businesses come to our shop every single year, and I walk them around personally and show them what we're doing in our business, right? Anyone's invited.
A truly successful person always wants to share.
That's right.
Like they're the most open people.
That's right. And then the other thing too is you're observing what these larger businesses are doing. Well, you tell me one of them that's not in a group of one form or another where they have coaching and training opportunity. They're all in something.
I think that was one of the most eye-opening things when I was growing Nexion and we were trying to get it to a size. The most eye-opening thing to me, I thought people were going to be standoffish of me or they weren't going to want to share their little secrets or whatever. And, I'm the type of guy that asks a million questions and my question is always why, right? But that's a good thing about the industry, the future of this industry where I see it. Dude, back 20 years ago, nobody really talked to each other. So like back in the day, it was harder for us to share information. Now that we have all these ways of communication, it's eye-opening how many people are willing to help each other in the trades. And I don't know if this pertains to, other industries, but I can guarantee you one thing: the trades are super welcoming. We welcome people that are good people, good, hardworking people, and we welcome to take on a project with us.
I think that brings up a good point, is like to reach out, start talking to people.
There you go.
Yeah, because people want to see success, surround themselves with people that are successful.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons why we've had so much success with the trades, with different businesses right now, and we don't suffer from a lack of information problem, right? We got tons of info, right? What really sets us apart and where we've been able to find a lot of success is the level of accountability that we hold, because we do one-on-one coaching with our guys, like actually look over their numbers. Like that's where guys need their freaking feet held to the fire to make sure that they're implementing the real information, because knowing information is one thing. We all know how to get skinny. We all know how to look good and everything else, but that doesn't keep us from eating the cookies, right? And so like we need somebody that keeps us from eating the cookies and that makes us show up at the shop accountable to certain KPIs. On top of that, what we found is that works incredible is in-person workshops. What happens is we get stuck in that day-to-day as a technical operator, right? Where we're head down doing the thing. We're down here on ground level. We have to get to 30,000 foot. And what I found the best cadence is once a quarter. You remove yourself from the business, you go spend time with other entrepreneurs that are working on the same exact thing, and you actually work on the business from 30,000 feet. And that's where we found just a ton of success with these workshops is guys are forced to be in the room, right? They paid the money. They're forced to be in the room. They remove themselves from their location. They come in, we work with them. We spend a couple of days working on the things that actually drive growth. Like I think more than anything, whether you're a part of our group or anything else, like accountability and forced to take action and create. And so that's where I'm finding value.
What are you most excited about this new venture you got there? Because obviously, look, my Tom Howard, which is one of the most impactful people in our industry and probably one of the biggest, has one of the purest minds in our industry, brought it up to me and he said, "Hey, Ishmael, you know what the next problem for you is going to be?" And I'm sure you guys are going to bump into. What drives you to get up every morning and take on the responsibility of mentoring these contracts?
So it's a good question, and I mean, my real answer is like my kids. But I think like the decisions I'm making like echo into their lives. And so like I want to live a life that's inspiring them to be their best. And so for me, it's like, what am I doing that does that? Same with my wife, right? The people closest to me. And then it goes from there, and my friends and business partners. And
so that's on the personal level. What about the professional level though? What's going to drive you on the professional side to be able to wake up? And that question goes for you too.
I would say I grew up on the farm, and it was like, there was just like no option on the farm. It was work hard, go to bed, wake up, work hard. It was just the same thing. And then once I started doing door-to-door sales, I started thinking, man, there's opportunity. I can create opportunity from nothing. And then it was, me and Chris have done several businesses that just didn't work out. And I know the grind and I know how hard it is. And so for me, I love helping people skip those steps that are not necessary. And so just helping people jump past those steps and like actually have success, like I love it. I loved it. I loved our business. I loved when we had people coming in, making a career in their sales, making a sales career. I see people, improving their lives and just having success that they didn't think possible.
Yeah. I mean, dude, for me, I'm a visionary, and the thing that always drives me is a mission. And so I think about this consistently and constantly. I've always known that money isn't the driver. Money is a derivative. It's points on the scoreboard and whatnot. And so, in building businesses, the thing I love is the things that put points on the scoreboard. For me, it's what really drives and gives me that satisfaction. And, society has lied to each one of us as far as like that there is an accomplishment that will get you completely fulfilled. There won't. The reason we named our company Next Level is that happiness is found in trajectory, in the trends that we're going and going to the next level. And as long as you're leveling up, like that's where true happiness comes from. And so our mission at Next Level is designing lives that impact the world, right? And like, what I've always thought about is like, okay, how can I really leave my fingerprint on humanity and really change the world? For me, when I was thinking about those 6 weeks of like, dude, I got to have purpose, I got to have something else. Like it was like, okay, how can I have the greatest impact? And ultimately it was working with entrepreneurs and helping them design lives that impact the world. And so, which really drives our 5-year mission of Impact 125, which is to bring an additional 125 billion in annualized revenue through our community. That dollar amount is going to drastically change the world. And so like, when you ask like, what drives me, dude, that's it, man. That gets me excited, gets me pumped, get me out of bed in the morning every single day. Gets me hyped.
I would love to hear what drives you.
Dude, I think I get driven by the problem, man. Like when somebody presents a problem or something that needs to be fixed, to me, taking on a massive problem is what drives me every day.
How do you limit though? Because there's tons of problems.
Yep.
How do you limit your focus so that you can really accomplish the end goal?
So I look at the operation as a whole, and I look at the operation where the problem is at, but I look at the operation as a whole, right? We have marketing, we have personnel, we have sales, we have everything, right? And to me, it's fixing that one problem that still needs fixing, right? Like marketing. We're always spending marketing money in the trades, trying to acquire new clients. Why? Because we're not retaining them fast enough. We're always marketing new, like an action. We were spending $1.4 million a month in marketing between billboards and TV and radio and Google and all that, right? And just acquiring new clients. Instead of like, what happened to the 450,000 people we just serviced in the last 4 or 5 years? Like, why can't we retain that? And when I saw that through the thermostat that I'm building, I looked at the alarm company, and they have the highest retention in the industry. They're riding at 94.8% retention. That is why they don't spend 1.1% of marketing is spent on the alarm company at ADT.com. Right? They spend 1.1% of their revenue on marketing because that panel has their logo, has their information. You're always going to go back to them, right? And that, to me, when I saw that gap in the operation, that's what lit up the fire against.
I love it. Dustin, what's driving you?
I mean, all those things you guys have said, and then just one more thing that comes to mind. There's people counting on us. I have an accountability to my family. Yeah. To my coworkers, to my friends, the people in my business. And I hope whoever's listening to this realizes how many lives are affected by just your group. I mean, if you figure the average employee's got a family of 4, any hour services, any hour group as a whole, we have over 2,000 employees times 4. So we have close to 10,000 mouths to feed, people that are counting on us every single day to show up to work, and not just show up and break even. We have to be profitable. And we have to grow. If we're not growing, we're moving backwards. And so for me, it's just a drive to the accountability that's on my shoulders to perform for the people that expect us to develop a business that's profitable and grows.
You hit it right in the head, D. Honestly, you're probably one of the most underrated operators in our industry, man. And like all the time that we get to spend together, I'm always learning something from you. I'm always, trying to see like where I can hit you from a different angle, see where I could, grab some substance for you. But your mind is in the right place, man.
I love it. I love it. Where can the listeners go to follow you or find out a little bit more about what you're doing?
Look, I have a free social media group that is called Nuva Networks Group, where I mentor about 7,000 contractors already. I grew it 4 years ago. I did it just to take my mind off, next gen and all the different things I was doing. So I kind of did it as a side gig just to be able to take my mind off, what I currently had. And it's grown to 7,000 contractors. So social media, Facebook, on Instagram, it's Ismael Valdez, CEO. Most likely you're going to see me with Chris and the Next Level guys here helping more contractors.
I love it. Love it. How about you, Dustin?
Lots of different ways. My cell phone's on anyhourgroup.com. You can track me down there. I'm happy to give it to you here if you'd like. Look it up on social media. Cell phone's 801-787-3546. You're all invited to come to Any Hour Services in Utah. I do tours regularly. Just let me know you're interested. Let me know how many people. We're going to hang out at Top Golf, hit some balls, have some food. There's nothing better than getting to know people over some chicken wings. Then we're going to do a shop tour.
Awesome.
We're going to see what's there.
Ishmael, Dustin, appreciate you guys both coming into the studio. It's been a great one. Until next time.